Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. It's 7 p.m. I want to take a moment and thank CAPS for their generous support. Without their assistance, we wouldn't be able to use this room. Uh, and without their technical support from their staff, we would have a very difficult time making this work. So the staff at CAPS is important to us at CACC, and we want to thank them for helping us out. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Barbara Brown, and I'm the chair of the College Area Community Council. This meeting is being recorded, and we ask that you turn off or mute your phones if you're in person. And today we thought it might be a good idea to do something a little bit different for a change. So, excuse me, what we thought we'd do is we would each introduce ourselves and maybe say one sentence about CACC, what you'd like to see, what you've enjoyed, just one sentence just to share a little bit about what you're interested in. So I think we're going to start with the online, the Zoom visitors. And I can see Bob. Bob, do you want to start?
I've unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Well, I appreciate this. I'm really here to talk about the fire map. I think that's important, right? That's on the agenda.
Yes, it's on the agenda, and Brett Reed is here.
All right.
He's going to talk about that.
Well, I mean, I think CAPS, in the old days, it was a place to read poetry and to be in poetry groups with Bill, Phil, not Spector, our poet, local poet laureate.
Oh, Phil Taggart or?
Phil Taggart, yeah.
Yeah.
He would come on and do recordings and tapes. It was very good. There's a way of reaching out to a broader community for the poets. So appreciate that.
Well, thanks, Bob. Nadine, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Sure. I'm Nadine, and I love these meetings. I always find I learn so much, and I feel so informed about my community. And I love the hybrid option. Thank you.
And then Shannon?
Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Fredericks. I am usually on the agenda as your rep for Ventura Unified School District, but due to time, I won't be presenting, but I just want to make sure that you all know I'm your contact if you have any concerns about Ventura Unified School District. And I love being a part of the CACC because I like to know what's going on in the community. And I just really appreciate being able to join you guys once a month.
Great, thank you. Anne, would you like to, we're just introducing ourselves. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, hang on. Hi, thanks. I like to come to the meetings. I'm in Houston. I live above the college, and I just learn so much and try to tell all my friends that they should be going to their community college meeting, their community council meetings, because that answers a lot of questions that people have about what's going on in the city.
Well, thank you. You know, Dina talked about this at the last meeting where we get so much misinformation these days. And what we try to do is get the sources so people can ask very specific and direct questions to reduce the amount of misinformation that's out there. Okay, and then Vanessa, I'm going to introduce you a little bit later, but if you want to just say hello and say a sentence about College Area Community Council.
Yeah, hi, Vanessa Stotler, Director of Marketing and Outreach at Ventura College. And yeah, it's wonderful coming to College Area Community Council to be able to meet with everyone and give updates from the college to our local community and neighbors. So I'm always so happy to be here with everyone.
Okay, thank you. Eric, have I missed anybody? I think I've got them all, but are we seeing the entire gallery? Well, in the meantime, while Eric is doing that, let me allow our guests here to introduce themselves. Rob, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm Rob Corley and live up in the college area, and which makes sense here. But no, this is a fabulous group, and it's a great way to learn what's going on in the community and share and helps interact with the city and all the agencies in town. So it's a great event. There you go.
I enjoy interacting with the college area community council just because I feel there's an obligation to participate in what's going on in your community, as well as knowing what's going on. It makes a big difference, and I think it enriches your life if you do those things.
Hi, Jim Ackerman. I used to go to the Midtown Community Council meetings when I was a Midtowner, and I always felt it was important to have a kind of a grip on what's going on in the city and my small community such as this. And the guest speakers are always very interesting. They have a lot of great information. I like hearing law enforcement, our fire department, guest speakers, and just about anybody who has something important to say that makes me more involved than I am. Back here, Kat.
College Area Community Council, all the community councils, I urge people, no matter what part of town they live in, to visit other community councils as well as their own, because it gives you a perspective on the things that are important to people in different parts of the community. It's not all the same. People have different issues and problems that they need to solve. So yeah, community councils are great. I'm in.
That was great. How do you go after that? My name's Eric Rosenberg. I'm the treasurer here. And I love that this organization helps me, one, stay ahead of kind of what's going on around town, knowing um, where there's going to be construction that will inconvenience my wife during our kids drop off at elementary school. She'll like if I can tell her a couple days ahead of time which way to go. Winning points at home is always a good thing, and it's nice to have a connection to the people and the organizations who really run our city day to day, and knowing what is best for my family and my kids growing up here, being able to tell the people who can influence things like traffic safety in schools and everything else, I think is a really great value.
So we're going to have these two speakers speaking in a moment, but would you guys mind just introducing yourself right now?
Hi, my name is Brett Reed. I'm the fire marshal for City of Ventura Fire Department, and I'll be speaking about our fire hazard severity zone maps and our fire hazard reduction program. Took me a minute to get that out.
And Bert, did you want to introduce yourself? We're just introducing ourselves and saying one sentence about College Area Community Council. What's that?
Good evening, folks. My name is Bert Handy, and I'm actually a Midtown person, but I'm over here. I just listen to the other groups. Thank you.
All right. So thank you. It's great to meet you all again, or meet you for the first time, if that's the case. And we're going to go ahead and get started. First, I want to introduce Commander Mike Brown with the Ventura Police Department, who's going to give us our crime stats.
Hello, thank you, folks. And I like the College Area Community Council because I am also a resident of this community council, and I appreciate and want to hear anything that the police department can do that better serves you, any criticisms especially, and anything that we can do to help maintain the quality of life at our neighborhoods. With that being said, talking about the crime stats are kind of almost on par with last month, with the exception we did see a spike in 14 incidents of theft and also some narcotics offenses. Now, the narcotics offenses and the weapons offenses are actually proactive arrests that the police department are making. So when we talk about crime stats and if there's a high level of narcotics and weapons violations, those are all proactive where our officers are out there coming across these people and making arrests. So it kind of skews the data in some ways, but that's a good part of the data when we talk about society crimes, which I'll talk about next month when we break down the citywide crime statistics in regards to Ventura in comparison to other cities in our county. One of the notable areas, like I talked about, was the theft. You'll notice that there obviously the mall continues to dominate a lot of the thefts with all the business merchants there, but there's a lot of sporadic thefts. That's a little lock symbol that you see on our crime map. And one of the things that I noticed going through all of the incidents is a lot of those are thefts from unlocked vehicles and also package thefts. And looking at how kind of spread out, we see there is a cluster up there at Arroyo Verde Park. So if you are going up there to enjoy the park, please make sure that, one, your doors are locked, and try to conceal any valuable items. Keep them in your trunk. Maybe have a blanket or something so that somebody walking by doesn't see a crime of opportunity and either open the door because it's unlocked or end up breaking the window. All the other ones, what kind of stood out to me was a lot of them are off of major corridors. So off of Aurora, off of Telegraph, off of Loma Vista, Day Road, which kind of indicates to me that we might have somebody riding around on a bicycle and looking for crimes of opportunity. At nighttime, also people that are following a lot of the Amazon and UPS drivers. So what I would recommend is if you have a package that's coming, you're not home, maybe reach out to a neighbor, keep up on your updates and have them take your package if you're not going to be home soon. And also be vigilant. If you see something, call us and let us know. If you don't want to call 911, you can call our non-emergency line and just say, hey, this guy looks suspicious, or I think he's following the Amazon guy, or he's looking in windows, checking door handles. We want to be alerted to those and come out and see if we can make a difference with that. So that's the overall crime statistics as far as the last 28 days. And before I take any questions, I just wanted to also let people know we are going to be doing the Special Olympics Tip-A-Cop tomorrow night at the Barrel House 101. This is a fundraiser where your local law enforcement officers will actually be waiters working with the waiters and waitresses at the Barrel House to raise money for the Special Olympics. We also do a torch run that we do in June, but this is another event that we help to raise money for the Special Olympics. And the last thing I'd like to touch on is the Ventura County Fair is upon us, just about a week away almost. So we talk about traffic and wanting to know the ins and outs and how to get around the city. Please note that traffic will be severely impacted downtown. California Street gets closed off. Figueroa Street will be closed off the entire time for, if you're trying to go from Thompson towards the fairgrounds, you will not be able to go that way. It's actually chain linked off. So every year we get people driving the wrong way, trying to get, people say, hey, I was following my GPS. Please share with your friends. You can go down Garden Street to go around that way. And, if you need to get in, California Street will also be closed off from Thompson to the off-ramp. San Juan is another way. But what I recommend is take a shuttle. The shuttles, usually there's one at the government center. The fair will release where all the shuttle pickup points. Sometimes they might have one at the college from time to time. But usually the mall is a close one. The government center, the Stanley School District, Oxnard Performing Arts Center, Ventura High School, absolutely. Shuttle, and if you're out of town, the Amtrak also is, and the Metrolink is a good way to get there, and that way you bypass all of the traffic. The other thing that I'll touch on, especially after working traffic for most of my career there at the fair, is if you're wanting to go, the lot fills up quick, and they don't have very many spaces, especially with if you notice there's a lot of construction down there at Surfers Point. That parking lot is not available, which means parking is going to be at a premium. And once the lot's full, they turn people away. So taking shuttles is the best. So if you want to get there to that concert, please try to get there early or use a shuttle, which is the best option. Any questions? The kidnapping in Montalvo that just happened, the press release? Is that the press release just recently in the last, yeah, so we did have someone that may not have their mental capacity. They might be developmentally disabled. They could be under the influence of some kind of drugs that was just acting bizarre and was trying to take some items from the Montalvo area and the apartments there. And there was a child outside, and she actually grabbed a hold of the child, and luckily the mom was very vigilant, came down, intervened, and kept the child. We were able to, thankfully, some bystanders kept visual of that person, was able to coordinate with law enforcement to get them to where that lady was. She was actually trying to hide in the post office in that area. So that was a very good from the neighbors being vigilant. And a couple of months ago, we had another similar incident down on the beach on Seaward, where a lady maybe under the influence or developmentally disabled with some mental health issues picked up a little girl and carried her to the bathroom. And the father was paying attention and went, and they kind of knew each other. There's some weirdness with that one, but still, you just be vigilant with your kids, keep an eye on them, make sure they're close, and be watching for other just people that shouldn't be doing what they're doing. So, any other questions? I did report last month we had a large fight that with some kids at the bus depot. Our detectives have made an arrest, and that individual is a juvenile, and the district attorney office is filing charges on that. So that was an update from last month. Yes, sir.
The stars, Commander.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant below you, 3 stripes.
Yes. And corporal, and then we do have, if you're an officer for 10 years, you could have 1 stripe.
Oh.
And if there's a star underneath the stripes, and they've been that rank for 10 years.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
Any other questions? I appreciate everyone's time.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you for
had
the
a couple
opportunity.
questions if you don't mind.
Yes,
How you
please.
doing? I had my hand raised, but I don't think they saw it. Couple things on the fairgrounds. They're going to use a dirt parking lot across the street from what I read. So they're going to have a little extra parking over there for whatever that's going to provide. Also, I was reading that they had some catalytic inverter thefts recently. What's going on in the city with that?
There wasn't any catalytic converters thefts in our area. We did actually, the task force, the VenCat task force that's comprised of the sheriff's department, some DA's office, and one of our officers that are on there, did make a major arrest, I believe it was about a month ago, with some suspects that were actually out of San Bernardino area. And they served a search warrant with some of our detectives and made arrests with that. If there was any other recent catalytic converter thefts around the city, nothing came across my radar on the detective desk other than that arrest that we made about a month ago. And if there's something else, let me know and I can look into it for you.
Yeah, I was just reading on next door that somebody on Laurel Street had a catalytic converter ripped off within the last couple of days, just for information.
Okay. Anything else? I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commander Brown. And we're not related, by the way. I know everyone in here thought that, but no. Okay, next, I want to introduce Vanessa Stotler, who's the Director of Outreach and Marketing, and she's going to talk about the Ventura College. Vanessa?
Hi. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and just share my presentation this evening. Good evening, everyone. So I first wanted to start with some of those housing updates. The last time I was on here, I talked a bit about how there's been a bit of a delay on our project, but our Board of Trustees has allocated the additional $6.4 million to support the project. And so This additional funding, we're really happy will help address the increasing costs of construction and ensure that we can build the best possible building for our campus. And we have entered that final design phase with our architects and have started developing the documents that will be used for the building's construction. So we are finally moving along back again. We hit a hiccup, but now we're back on track. So we do anticipate finalizing this part of the process and beginning the search for contractors by the end of November. And then we're still, of course, looking for solutions for the existing palm garden, which may need to be removed. And so we've reached out to the Palm Society for some recommendations and are always open to potential solutions in how we can find a home for our palm garden. So our housing updates, I think I shared this last time, but in case nobody was there, nobody who's here today, wasn't at the last one. We have some really wonderful images, newly visions of just how our housing is going to be looking, even interior renderings and exterior renderings as well, which has just made us extremely excited here on campus. The start of the semester is coming very, very quickly. And so I'm always letting folks know community college is a wonderful opportunity for everybody in our community. We really are the community college here in Ventura College. And so for those who think it might have been too late to apply, it's not. The first day of the semester is Monday, August 11th. And right before, on Saturday, August the 9th, we are having a big public event for those students, future students, anybody here on the call, really. Anyone that wants to come get some help on not only applying, but going through their steps of the application, applying for financial aid, registering for classes, even meeting with counselors or getting their student IDs. So that set sail Saturday is Saturday, August 9th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we're also going to be in the Learning and Resource Center, which is located right here on our map, closest to our east parking lot. I shared this last time and we've had a lot of really great responses, but our Basic Needs Center has a brand new van that they had they had it fully wrapped, so it's beautiful, and people can see it within our community in our Basic Needs van. We also have QR codes on there if you're ever looking to give some money for our Basic Needs Center. It goes to students who really need the resources. So it's a wonderful thing you'll see out in the community. And so if you see it, give it a shout out. It's really great. I just wanted to share this one more time. It's we're just happy we're able to do that and change so many of our student lives. It's getting really close. We're kicking off the 100-year anniversary. It's getting closer and closer day by day as we get into August. In my brain, I'm already in August, but August 31st, 1925 is the first day that Ventura College became Ventura College. So on August 31st, 2025 is now our 100-year anniversary since that date. And we have some events planned. The biggest one is going to be our September 6th. I don't know why I'm completely double guessing myself right now, but we have a big 100-year kickoff game for the 100-year anniversary, open to the public. And we would love to see our neighbors come and join us for that big 100-year anniversary game here at Ventura College. It's just really going to be a blast. And so you will be seeing a lot of things out in the community. We have some billboards and other things that are coming just to really share the awareness of the impact of Ventura College here within our city. So we're so proud that we've been here. It's the first institution of education, of higher learning, in the county of Ventura. So we're getting really close to celebrating those 100 years. Classes, of course, start August 11th. So as a final push, I always say that it's great if you want to, it's not too late to apply or to learn something new. So I always love to also let folks know that there's still time. And so now I'm open to questions, but I just wanted to share this. Our global garden was completely redone, and I hope you can see the video as it's going through, but I do welcome, we see our neighbors walking their dogs on campus, just walking on their morning walks or coming around. So hopefully you've seen the global garden. I got this really wonderful drone shot of it, and it's just fantastic. So hopefully everybody here can see that as well. But I'm open to any questions that anyone may have.
Can you see any questions, Eric, on Zoom? So we can't see the gallery on Zoom. So if you have a question like Bert did before, just shout it out. That's the best way we could probably do that. And then could you repeat the date of the anniversary event? I think
Yeah,
you weren't 100% sure, but
of course. So we have our big football game. And let me just try to see where we are. It is, give me just a moment. I'm second guessing. We have internally we're doing a big kickoff event, but on September the 6th, I don't know why I thought it wasn't. And so it's the weekend after Labor Day. We have our big kickoff football game that'll be at the Sportsplex.
all right, thank you. Is there any other questions? Well, thank you so much for sharing, Vanessa. It's great to see you again.
All right, bye everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
So we're going to have a quick treasurer's report from our treasurer, Eric Rosenberg. I could have just brought this over.
I came all the way over to the camera. So hi everyone, I'm Eric. If you don't know me, so our we don't normally bore you with all the details of what's in the bank account right now. It's about $1,200. I'm rounding down because in finance we round to the nearest hundred, depending on our motivations. So I'm trying to motivate you all to help raise that number up a little bit because we have our biggest expense of the year coming up in just a few months. If we had about $500 more in the bank, we would be a bit more comfortable as our big insurance payments do. So if we were a telethon right now, I'd have like a big 500 on the board and ask you guys to fill it in. So yeah, if you value what we do, that's a huge way you can help. Also, I'm running the website stuff now, and if you have website ideas or talents and want to help make the website more awesome, definitely please reach out to us and let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Dina, about our insurance? Anything?
I'll just mention that liability insurance as well as property insurance continues to rise. Most of us are familiar with the idea that the homeowner's insurance is going to increase because of cost of construction, but the other costs that are increasing in the insurance land is liability. There's more claims and greater payouts. And what we carry is liability insurance, and that's what keeps us from being sued as a board and being able to put on our programming. So if you are in a position where you can make a contribution, it's worthwhile. It allows us to operate freely for a year. And as Eric mentioned, that is our primary expense. We don't have very many others. And so our fundraising is really limited toward keeping our programming going. So if you are in a position where you can make a contribution, I know there's a lot of places asking for contributions right now. It's in the air. But this is truly right here at home and has an impact on what we know and what we're able to impact here in our own city. So if you have some room in your budget, we'd appreciate your donations.
Thank you, Dina. So next I want to introduce Maruja Clensay, who is our Community Development Director for the City of Ventura. Maruja?
Hi, well, thank you for the promotion. I'm actually the Assistant Community Development Director, but so flattered that you gave me that little bump right there. Nice to see everyone virtually and in the room. I am going to try and be as quick as I can, acknowledging that you have a lot of other people over on your agenda, Brett Reed and our Assistant City Manager, Carlene Saxton, with really good updates for you. So I have a very lengthy PowerPoint, but I'm going to try and just breeze through it. And just know at the end, I'm always available for any other questions, or if you want to talk about something in more detail. This will be, I'm not going to steal Brett's thunder too much, but basically drinking out of a fire hose. It is a very truncated version of our entire general plan update, which is about 400 pages. So it may be, maybe you'll get a little nap in it, but I hope it'll be interesting and you'll have some great questions at the end. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Okay, can everybody see my PowerPoint? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. So some of you may be familiar with this if you've seen any of our recent City Council and Planning Commission meetings, but the purpose of a general plan, it's a long-range policy document that guides future actions for the city over a longer period of time. Every city and municipality or county is supposed to have a general plan. It helps create that long-term vision, addresses topics of concern and community strengths. And there's 8 required elements or chapters as seen on the screen: land use, circulation, housing, noise, conservation, safety, open space, and environmental justice. We have a few extra in our general plan. We have a historic preservation element, an economic development element, and our open space element is mixed between our historic preservation element. I'm sorry, a conservation element is mixed between our historic preservation element and land use. So there are 6 phases to our general plan update. We are in the final phase, the review and adopt. This has been going on since spring of 2020. We've had a lot of outreach and we're just trying to land the plane and get it to a final adoption this fall. So briefly going over all the outreach and engagement we've done, we've had a unique project website. We've done inserts in water bill mailers twice, actually. We've taken advantage of the Auto Center billboard sign to advertise meetings. We have a lot of impressions on social media. We've worked with businesses downtown for QR codes and images on coasters to help garner more public participation. This is some of the branding that we did with our outreach. As you can see, ads in the breeze, collaboration with Beacon, Ventura Coast Brewery, and of course on YouTube videos. Our General Plan Advisory Committee is a local group that was appointed or applied for and appointed by council. We've had 34 meetings total, including 1 kickoff meeting that doesn't count towards the total 33 on record, but 34 meetings touching every topic of the general plan as seen on the screen. 10 workshops and educational forums on a variety of topics within the general plan, 9 online surveys. From inception to just recently, we had 2 rounds of land use map surveys that we did. Other engagement, we had pop-up workshops, 4 rounds of meetings with community council groups, one-on-one meetings, office hours, multiple times before city council, planning commission, and other commissions we have at the city. We distributed our general plan on June 30th. It is available online, and we also have hard copies at City Hall for you to peruse if you prefer having a hard copy. We have given or offered copies to all of our community councils. There's copies at all of our libraries, again, at the planning counter and at City Clerk's office at City Hall. And we also mailed notice of the publication to interested parties, other agencies, jurisdictions, and other contacts we have that love to learn about everything we're doing in the city. So the organization of the general plan, we have 13 chapters, including an intro about the update process, the vision, and then those topic areas I spoke of earlier, as well as our special additional element chapters, historic preservation, arts and culture, and our economic development element. Each chapter has an intro, any kind of legal requirements, if they're one of the elements that's required by the state. It gives a baseline of context regarding that topic area, some key considerations, goals and policies regarding that topic, and implementation actions. So not every goal or policy will have an implementation action, but an implementation action within that chapter may apply to various goals and or policies. So this is our vision statement that the General Plan Advisory Committee worked on over time and received some additional input just this earlier this year. So basically, we want to continue to be friendly, culturally diverse, be inclusive, improve our city in all key areas such as the arts, housing, be vibrant and accessible. We want to provide diverse housing to all income levels and abilities. We anticipate environmental challenges and want to address them in a way that maintains our identity of being sustainable and for a healthy future of all our residences. So core values are the foundation of our general plan, as seen on the screen: community, quality of life, diversity and equity, housing choice and affordability, nature and open spaces, innovation and creativity, and of course, robust civic engagement, which is why we're here today. So I'm going to get into the land use element, which is probably our most robust element of the general plan. So hopefully you can hang with me, because if you can get it through this one, the other ones will be pretty short and sweet, hopefully. So our land use element has our introduction. It is one of our legally required elements. We look at the existing setting of our city from a land use designation perspective, key considerations, and again, those goals, policies, and actions I spoke of. So key considerations within the land use element: we have the open space surrounding our city protected by SOAR. We have a vibrant downtown. We have a mix of residential from low density to some, looking at more multifamily development as well, and particularly infill development. We have some primary commercial corridors such as Johnson, Victoria, and Main Street. We're the county seat for the government center. We also have to consider housing costs, the role of neighborhood retail in our city, and of course the impact of state housing laws, as well as we have a strong medical center with our 2 hospitals and our harbor district. So these are goals that we have within our land use element. As you can see, I've kind of bolded the main points of these. We have cherished community characteristics. We want to support an urban structure. We want to maximize the use of land before we expand outward. We want to create a human scale development with high quality architecture. We want to ensure that we're supporting the growth of our industrial areas and our warehouse and research and development areas. We want to have thriving commercial and employment districts, still support our agricultural heritage and economy, strengthen our local and regional partnerships. We want to maintain safe and clean areas through effective code enforcement, always promoting safety, wanting to achieve carbon neutrality, have a clean energy system and building efficiency, and foster community resilience across the city. We want to have complete walkable residential neighborhoods, retain and support the culture or the character and identity of Ventura's diverse low-density neighborhoods, protect our mobile home parks, and promote multifamily residential as much as we can. We also have goals and policies that are specific to areas within our city. Now, these areas aren't specific to a neighborhood, but areas that we're just focused on within the context of our General Plan Advisory Committee. Either they mirror corridors or do mirror a certain specific plan area like the downtown. So we want to see vitality in our Midtown, Victoria, and Johnson corridor. We want to continue to support our west side and look to revitalize it and create a transportation hub out there. We want to maintain our downtown as a vibrant and inviting district. Again, reinforce our Arundel and North Bank areas as little employment and industrial hubs for research and development. Expand the role and vitality of Ventura Harbor. Support our healthcare district. Reconfigure and re-envision the Pacific View Mall. Maintain Pierpont as a coastal-oriented area through services that attract both residences and tourists, create a vibrant college district, and enhance the vitality of the east side while preserving their character. So some implementation actions out of this land use plan include updating our zoning code to effectuate the general plan. This is going to be probably the biggest lift we have ahead of us right after the general plan is adopted, because the vision of the general plan, true to its name, is general. And when we get to the more granular detail and specificity, that's where we look at updates to our zoning code, which help effectuate that general vision, right? And then we want to update existing plans we have for the downtown Victoria, Midtown areas, potentially look at establishing new plans and studies. We also want to try and develop better strategies for affordable housing, climate resilience, business district revitalization, GHG thresholds through EV charging stations, and try and find other ways for sustainable urban agriculture. Our next chapter, which is a optional chapter, is our economic development element. This mirrors our strategic plan that council adopted, I want to say about maybe a year and a half ago. Maybe Carlene will probably know the better date. We look at economic development, including land uses to support a diverse economy, workforce development, economic equity while still being fiscally sustainable, and wanting to really be on the cutting edge of new workforce trends so that we can be an incubator for future businesses and industries that maybe haven't come to Ventura yet. So key considerations within this element, we have a high quality of life. We have strong economic-based industries. There's a diversity of retail, including a strong downtown. There's a strong demand for industrial spaces. And there's we want to work with training educational institutions. However, there's also a lack of lodging options, not that many hotels. We have some vacant retail frontages that would need to be re-envisioned. We're bifurcated from our waterfront with the freeway. And we want to make sure that we can address these, thinking about how we can bridge these gaps with these implementation actions and goals and policies. So we want to support and expand our existing employment areas, improve the alignment between local workforce skills and jobs that are here so people who live here can work here. We also want to expand tourism by encouraging more overnight visitors, of course, support and enhance the Ventura Harbor. Look to reinforce Ventura's position as a regional center of retail and personal services, support economic equity, strategic economic development policies, and try and create strong foundations within our city through partnerships. So some actions we have that stem out of our strategic plan, looking at that strategic plan and implementing it, wanting to convene industry cluster groups, look for more workforce training, including not just local colleges, but also unions in the trades, expand our small business assistance program, try and reinvigorate the Shop Local campaign in other areas outside of downtown, do a tourism market study. Main Street Moves is still TBD. You'll hear more about that later on tonight. And looking at development impact fees to help encourage different types of industries to come here. So our mobility element is transportation. So this looks at everything from cars, the pedestrian, bikes, etc., and transit. So what this chapter does, it looks at our existing framework of road classifications, all of our streets, and basically tells you, okay, these types of streets are this width, they have this speed limit, and these are the certain kind of traffic calming devices that we can do here. It also looks at future plans for these roads within our city on a case-by-case basis when development comes into queue. So key considerations, we have great freeway access. We have 3 different freeways that go through our city. With that, we have highway interchanges that we need to make sure are of utmost safety in coordination with Caltrans. We have an active transportation plan that was approved in late 2023 and a lot of visions for connectivity for bike routes and pedestrians that we want to see come to fruition. We want to improve access to the beach and ocean, increase pedestrian and bicycle safety. There is the Ventura River pedestrian crossing that is still percolating out there as a possible option for connectivity over the river, Ventura River, and also trying to address traffic congestion. One of the stats we have in our mobility element is about less than 2% or something minuscule like that use the bike for short trips within the city. We are a very car dependent city. So trying to find ways to encourage people to walk and or bike and or take transit to in-city trips. So some of the goals within our mobility element, increasing the multimodal transportation network I was just talking about, maintain that active transportation network in conjunction with multimodal, trying to increase transit efficiency and service. This will help us reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. We want to take views as much as we can along eligible California state scenic highways, increase transportation decarbonization programs. And so how we do that through actions is we have our capital improvement program, which is a 5-year cycle that our Public Works Department brings forward for council to prioritize such projects. We have mobility programs, again, the active transportation plan that I mentioned. We're looking at a vehicle miles traveled mitigation fee program. The state just passed recent legislation about that. looking and encouraging employee vehicle trip reduction through carpooling, electric vehicle charging encouragement, working with Metrolink and Amtrak to increase their routes and opportunities for people to use those services, and study shade at potential shade structures at bus stops to help encourage ridership. So our environmental justice element is one of our required elements, but actually from Senate Bill 1000. And this looks at certain areas and census tracts within a city based on different metrics to assess the level of potential environmental pollution that that census tract may experience. It's done through a program called CalEnviroScreen, and it looks at it through 3 different metrics. So we have income, we have location, and we have a potential pollution burden surrounding that. That also looks at not only pesticide use and traffic density, but looks at access to fresh food, the housing market, how much access they have to parks and open space, and mobility and active transportation. So in this veil, or in this program, about half of our census tracts hit the metric of potentially being pollution burden. Now, what this means though is this actually opens us up for future funding opportunities as grants are out there that's specific from the state that target these areas to help improve potential situations or elements that may be contributing to these metrics to help lessen them. Like, let's say one of our census tracts reaches this metric because of its proximity to our high traffic congestion. Maybe there is a grant out there that allows us to expand local roadways to help lessen that congestion. And because we hit that metric, we'd be eligible for that grant. So key considerations within this context, we do have some areas that would be considered disadvantaged based on this metric system. That's based on surrounding pesticide use that we have with a lot of our ag. We're looking at fresh food availability in certain areas, air pollution from the freeways, as I noted. One of a strong consideration we have is the prominence of our hospitals and healthcare district. That's a really wonderful thing we have in our city to have 2 hospitals. We have industry and residential and school in close proximity in some areas of our town. And we also have a wide range of park diversity and access through our city. So all these goals effectively circulate around trying to improve access to fresh food, parks, public access, open space, public transit, and lessen impacts from pesticide, air quality, etc. So of course, with that, all of our goals are to promote positive health outcomes, to help reduce health impacts from pollution, minimize pollution impacts from industrial uses, through potentially looking at buffers or other kind of elements we can incorporate when we have 2 uses that may not be completely compatible right by each other. We want to promote the physical and mental wellness, want to strive and have better fresh food access. Better civic engagement is also part of the environmental justice. Of course, safe and sanitary housing and ADA access. So part of our implementation actions is working with Metrolink to try and address their idling trains. Also, we want to have a local idling ordinance. We want to do an industrial study on the west side. We want to do a volunteer tree planters program to help encourage more tree canopy, which of course can lessen GHG emissions. We want to encourage urban agriculture and really want to monitor effective public engagement with our city to help increase engagement across all of our city communities. One interesting motion that was made by the city council when they first looked at this in March was to create a food desert policy and trying to find ways to maintain the commercial in our existing shopping centers so that we don't become a food desert where we're still retaining access to fresh food through grocery stores or other food establishments. So we have a goal specific to that where we're looking to encourage grocery stores on the east side and the west side, continue to support our farmers markets and try and find economic incentives for convenience stores to offer fresh and healthy produce. So our next element is parks and open space. So we have 30 parks covering approximately 600 acres, which makes for about 5.5 acres per 1,000 residences. And this is really, really good. This is a really good metric. This is close to what the Quimby CACC metric When you look at all the open space combined, it looks to about 9 acres per 1,000, which is right in line with the Quimby Act likes for open space, which promotes green space throughout cities. We have 10 recreational facilities, 320 acres of beaches, and 3 golf courses. This is our existing and potential parks in our city. We don't have any plans for any new public parks at this moment, but we do work with private development when that comes in with a larger site. And if it has an opportunity for a park that privately funded, we encourage them to make it publicly accessible to provide more of these amenities to our city residences. Key considerations is that great parks ratio I was telling you about. We have excellent park access, large diversity of our parks and open spaces. We don't have a long range plan just yet, but because our parks are so popular, we have to constantly maintain them to ensure that they're safe and accessible. So we do, have not a difficult time, but we are, maintaining as we go. With that, we are looking to try and improve funding revenue so we can improve our parks because they are very popular, as noted. Overcrowding of our neighborhood parks, more use means more maintenance, and we're wanting to expand our amenities as well, in addition to keeping them safe and secure. So goals we have: improve our parks, access and safety to them, try and find different sources for funding, improve access to open space, and there's Ventura Harbor once more, make sure that's an amenity that continues to thrive, look at a trail network, and then of course preserve and enhance sensitive species and other areas and resources within our city. Actions we have include a parks and recreation master plan, a park safety evaluation, potentially re-looking at our residential parks impact fee to see if we can garner some more funds to help improve our parks. Explore the start of a commercial impact fee, which will garner some funds from commercial projects. Shared use agreements with our schools. Explore a dark sky ordinance that would help with downcast lighting at night. And potentially explore a parks district, which will allow us to be able to be open to bond funding. So public feedback we've received thus far, primarily on the draft parks and open space element, is wanting more strengthened policies to protect wildlife and retain open space. So we're reviewing that public feedback. We're actually having a subject matter expert meeting next week with environmental experts talking about other ways to improve policies and goals in this element to help our environmentally sensitive habitat and species, to ensure we're doing the best that we can to maintain those areas that are very important to the city. So next element or chapter is our public facilities and services element. This element includes basically everything you think about when you think of government. You think of libraries, schools, solid waste and recycling, gas, water, wastewater, stormwater, healthcare, social services. So some key considerations in this element: we have a wide diversity of public facilities. We unfortunately have a declining school enrollment. That's something we're seeing statewide. We have an enhancement of public services, again, a strong healthcare district. We have sufficient water and wastewater to support growth. We look to support Ventura College and other higher education opportunities in the city. And being the county seat, we have a significant county presence. So goals within this element: we want to, of course, continue to develop high quality citywide infrastructure, develop citywide telecommunications infrastructure, have well maintained public buildings, support our K-12 education and our community college, continue to provide high quality public services, especially for youth and seniors, provide responsive fire protection and emergency medical response citywide, ensure we have sustainable water supply and encourage and implement water conservation programs, provide stormwater drainage facilities, provide adequate sewage conveyance, and help meet, if not exceed, our state mandated community solid waste diversion and recycling targets. So actions within this: potentially explore a new fee, still TBD on that, but look at our capital improvement program to make sure that we're capturing these much needed improvements as we move forward with those plans in our public facilities. Explore the shared use agreements with our schools, create a master plan of all our facilities. An age-friendly community designation is where protects aging in place. So people as they age and need people to help them into their later chapters. They're able to do so in their home. And of course, continue to update and maintain our existing plans, such as our urban water management plan, which is renewed on a 3-year or 4-year cycle, our water master plan, resource report, wastewater master plan, and of course, water and sewer studies for new development as it comes online. So our safety element looks at all the potential. Can you still hear me? My earbud just did something weird.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry, it just did this weird echo. Apologies. So this looks at natural hazards and potentially human-made hazards that can happen with any city. Being coastal, we do have some additional potential hazards to consider, such as sea level rise, another, earthquakes, landslides, flood hazards, dam failure, and urban fires. Human-induced hazards can come from hazardous materials, terrorism, disease, and also this chapter talks about emergency evacuation. We have a special study that's attached to our general plan that looked at 3 different scenarios of wildfire, coastal flooding, and river flooding. So key considerations involve the potential hazards that may happen and what we can do to help prevent them to the best that we can, or at least prevent the magnitude of impact. So of course, all these goals are basically around minimizing the risk of loss of life, injury, damage to property, and economic and social dislocation from earthquakes, soil hazards like landslides, flood hazards, tsunami and sea level rise, wildfires. We want to ensure that we have efficient evacuation and disaster response for the entire community. We want to protect our community from the effects of hazardous waste or hazardous materials that may be released. Protect life and property from the potential effects of terrorism. This can involve extra oversight of special event plans to ensure police, fire, and emergency service providers have ample access and secure facility of the event. Of course, limit the loss of life and disruption due to pandemics. So actions involving this element include ensuring that we are adhering to our seismic standards through all of our built development, updating various plans involving natural hazards such as wildfire protection plan, our emergency operations plan, critical facilities relocation plan. Of course, training, education, and community engagement is huge within this element. As we learned with COVID, real-time information in the moment of is critical to ensure everybody is informed. And so that's what this element touches on as well. All right, we got 2 more. We're almost there, guys. All right, our arts and culture element. This is one of our optional elements. We have a wonderful arts and culture vibe within our city. I think we all can agree that we want to see that not only thrive, but expand. We have over 240 public artworks in our city, 37 arts organizations, multiple venues for arts and culture events, and multiple historic sites. We really want to build on this as part of our cultural identity. We want to enhance our public art program and grow our creative economy. I mean, we see that the creative economy touches so much more than just the art that you would think of when you think of art. It's graphic design, it's landscape architecture, it's mixed media, it's film. It touches a lot of industries that I think was really shown, especially during COVID. We want to expand the arts through Ventura, support our current facilities, and try and foster more collaborations. So our goals with this is to recognize and promote Ventura as an artistic cultural identity, strengthen our public art program, make sure that aligns with our economic development priorities, improve access to the arts for all Ventura residents, and support the availability and sustainability of our facilities and spaces. So, implementation actions include a public art master plan, small business support for the creative economy, looking at evaluating all of our cultural tourism in general, potentially looking at a cultural facilities assessment and a cultural facilities fund. Our historic preservation element is also one of our optional elements. This was important to the city because we also have a very strong history in our city. We have 119 city landmarks, 12 points of interest, 5 districts, 14 properties on the National Register, and 2 districts on the National Register. We have a very rich cultural and architectural history. We have existing robust preservation policies. We have done extensive historic resource studies. We're even doing a citywide survey right now that will be brought before council before the end of the year. We have a large number of recognized historic properties. One of the considerations within this element is considering, the conflict between new developments and existing historic resources. And we need additional studies on the social and cultural history of Ventura, especially our Chumash history. So goals within this element, we want to support a comprehensive citywide historic preservation program, protect our historic resources, maintain and expand our inventory of historic resources, and of course, promote public awareness, education, and celebration of our unique history. Actions involved in this element include updating our historic preservation element, exploring downtown to become a historic district. We're in the midst of preparing objective design standards as required by some state law, but for our citywide or potentially specific to these districts. We want to create an adaptive reuse ordinance, which helps us streamline historic buildings and doing retrofits and remodeling. We want to eventually adopt our citywide historic resources survey I was mentioning, and of course, consult with local tribes and ethnographic groups so we can incorporate their history into our historic preservation ordinance. We also released our noise element June 30th in conjunction with our environmental impact report. I had my dates wrong. The general plan was released mid-June, and then the EIR was released at the end of June, actually the beginning of June. All my dates are so confused. Anyway, we got the noise element released June 30th. This looks at all of our noise conditions in the city and provides goals and policies and actions in addressing the noise issues. These include looking at current and projected noise levels, key issues and opportunities and goals, which include collaborating with the fairgrounds for a long-term strategy to reduce noise, have an update to our noise ordinance, and develop a noise complaint policy. Now, take a little breath. We have an environmental document. I'm not going to go into it right now because that will really put you to sleep. But each discretionary action in the state is required to go through CEQA, or California Environmental Quality Act. In this case, our general plan has a programmatic environmental impact report. This is online too for you to read at your leisure, and it evaluates the impacts of the general plan update pursuant to CEQA on a larger programmatic level. It has a public input process, which is underway right now, and it looks at ways to minimize, reduce, or avoid environmental impacts for a worst case scenario. And if there are impacts, that has mitigation measures or policies to help lessen that impact to a less than significant level. The EIR looks at all these topics. I'm not going to go into them right now, but as you can see, there's a lot in that document. Within each chapter of the EIR, we have an intro about that topic, project description, setting, alternatives, and impacts. Again, this is a programmatic EIR, meaning it looks for a series of connected actions, acknowledging that future development projects will have their own environmental review and may have their own environmental document that looks at the specific impacts of that project. Again, it's online at planventura.com should you want to review our draft environmental impact report. There are 4 significant and unavoidable impacts of our general plan, of our EIR for our general plan. These are on the screen: air quality, touches cultural resources, and noise. And I'll walk through these very briefly. The air quality impact is related to construction. Construction will happen. It's an inevitable. Construction will happen in an urban setting. That is technically an unavoidable impact. We can't avoid it. So it's significant and unavoidable because construction will happen and there may be some construction and operational emissions. How we help mitigate that is through air quality control measures, dust mitigation measures. They water stockpiles, they prevent the idling of trucks for longer than 5 minutes, etc. The next 2 measures, cultural resources, are also connected to construction or earthwork. Construction will happen. Earthwork will happen. We will be digging up dirt. Digging up dirt may eventually cause a historic resource or paleontological or archaeological resource to be unearthed. That technically is unavoidable. How we mitigate that is ensuring that we have subject matter experts during grading when we know the site may contain such resources, and general contractors and others are trained to stop construction when a suspected resource that is historic significance, archaeological or paleontological significance is discovered, to ensure that subject matter expert can be brought on the field to look at that if they're not already there. The 4th impact, again, significant, unavoidable, because it's also connected to construction, is noise. Construction will happen. temporarily will increase noise levels and introduce new noise sources and operational noise that is an unavoidable impact. How we mitigate that? We try and have sound attenuation, maybe noise blankets, maybe other a number you can call if it's getting too rowdy. We limit the number of hours that you can have significant loud, pile driving or what have you. So again, these are 4 unavoidable impacts based on the nature of their all being affiliated with construction. And so because of that, a statement of overriding considerations will need to be adopted by the council, which essentially outlines the benefits of the general plan and why approving the project with the EIR is acceptable despite these unavoidable impacts. So if you want more information, the council and the planning commission looked at the general plan and the EIR on the dates before you at the screen. And you can go on the screen, you can go to cityofventura.ca.gov/agenda center. Click on any of these dates for city council. It's March 18th, May 13th, 14th, and 15th, and July 1st. And for planning commission, April 23rd, May 28th, and July 21st. You can read the reports, you can watch the video, you can hear the discussion being had by council or the planning commission, hear the questions asked. You can also go back and see all of our general plan advisory committee meetings. Those are found on planventura.com as well, /GPAC. You can find the agendas, all the documents you may need on that website as well. And you can submit public comment too. So next steps in the process, public comment deadline for the EIR and the general plan is August 14th. We are going to be reviewing all the public comment we receive, and then we have an adoption hearing before Planning Commission on the 24th of September and City Council on October 21st. So to provide comments, you can email, go online, schedule an appointment. We also have a special page dedicated to just Spanish resources. Plan Ventura /Espanol, which has all of our goals and policies translated in Spanish by a certified translator, a fact sheet in Spanish, and other videos with Spanish subtitles and translation, so we can help bridge that gap with our monolingual community. And that is it. This is my contact information. Sorry for a whirlwind presentation. You're now all experts. Feel free to call me or email me. Thank you so much for your time and your patience. That was, I know, a pretty thick presentation. Thank you to Mr. Reed and Ms. Saxton for your patience. I know you're around the corner, and I really appreciate you having me, and I will stop sharing. Oh, I think you're muted. I'm not hearing. I'm sorry. Is
Okay,
anybody else
sorry.
hearing? Is it me? Oh, there we go. Okay.
We were muted. Sorry about that. Well, first I want to thank you so much for a very comprehensive PowerPoint. That was very impressive.
Thank you.
That is a lot to cover.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
I have a couple questions, but before I speak, I wanted to see if anybody else had questions.
Yeah, real quick, if you don't mind, Barbara. I was noticing in your presentation, Ms. Clensay, that I didn't hear anything about Nature Conservancy land. In the areas of Ventura, we've got over 12,000 acres. A lot of it has come within the last 5 years. And an example would be Rancho Cañada Larga. They just had a 6,500 acre group that was given to the nature to a conservancy group. You've got Harmon Canyon, 2,000 acres. You got the Ventura River area up there, 1,600 acres. And you've also got the Ventura Land Trust behind Ventura, which is another 1,600 acres. Hopefully that'll be included in the GPAC and the information. Thank you.
Thank you. Because a lot of those are outside the city boundary, they are talked about in regards to our sphere of influence. But in looking at the acreages available to us within city boundaries, we do limit to what we have within our city limits. However, they are definitely noted in our sphere of influence areas. And in contextual reference, they will be noted within the context of the open space element. Thank you, Bert.
Okay, I had a couple questions.
Sure.
One is, are all the new streetlights in? Do you
You're
know?
asking me? Oh, I do not know, but I can find
You
out
don't-
for you.
All right, I'm just curious about that. I know they've been
Okay.
working on it, so, and
Yeah.
then the second question is, can you make this PowerPoint available?
Absolutely. I'll make it a PDF and I'll send it to Kathy and she
Okay,
can
that would be
distribute
great.
it to you all. Yeah, for sure. And then I'll follow up with our transportation division as well and get some timing on their streetlight improvement plan for you.
Okay, we just need to know if it's finished, and if it's not, when will it be finished? So
Are you
I've had it.
speaking to specific, is there a specific corridor or area of the community council area that you're,
Maruja.
you got
I
it?
can actually pop in here.
Yay, please do.
I know I haven't been introduced yet and I'm coming up later. And just for context, I'm Carlene Saxton, the assistant city manager here. And no, SE is not done with their light work and switching over to LEDs. And timing for finishing up that work. We are also asking SCE for kind of when the closure of that project is going to happen. I'll make sure that our transportation staff reaches out once we have more certainty in that, but no, they are not completed.
Okay, I was just in the general public, and a couple people asked me. I don't know where they live, so just curious.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you,
All right,
Carlene.
thank you again, Maruja.
Oh, thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
And again, reach out. Kathy knows how to get a hold of me. If you have any other questions, come on down and love to talk on the phone or visit you at a coffee shop, whatever's most convenient for you if you want to get more information about the general plan. But spread the word. Rob Corley, I'm looking at you. Spread the word. Okay, thank you. All right. Good luck, Brett. Good luck, Carlene. See you guys later. Bye.
So thanks, Maruja. Bye. So, having been a city that was deeply affected by wildfire, we are all concerned about fire, everything from insurance to how to prepare our homes to what is some of the new technology to just generally what's going on and how well prepared are we for that. I just drove down PCH this last weekend. I would not recommend anybody driving down there for a couple of reasons. One is you must go 25 miles per hour because there are construction workers stepping out into the street, backing their vehicles up on the street. So I would strongly recommend not going down there. And I know the looky-loo thing is huge, but it's not a happy place. And it's pretty devastating. So given that, again, in our interest about fires, I'd want to introduce now Brett Reed, who is our Ventura Fire Marshal. And he's going to talk about our new fire map and the new state fire rules and regulations. Brett?
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Brett Reed. I'm the fire marshal for City of Ventura. I've been in this position a little over 4 years. I've worked for the city in the fire prevention division a little over 6 years now. So do we have the presentation about ready? Yep. So tonight I am going to be talking about the new fire hazard severity zone maps that have recently been adopted by the city. The maps are created by the state of California. The Office of the State Fire Marshal, CAL FIRE, puts the maps out and they designate fire hazard severity zones. And they are presented to cities, counties throughout the state. And the cities then take those and we are tasked with adopting those maps. So if we can go to the next slide, please. And I promise I will be much, much shorter than Maruja. So what are fire hazard severity zones? A fire hazard severity zone is a geographic area designated by fire authorities to reflect the level of hazard in the area. Zones fall into one of three classifications and are based on factors like historical fire patterns, vegetation type and density, local weather conditions, and topography. What they don't take into account is fire risk mitigation, such as defensible space efforts, fuel modifications, short-term remediations. The fire hazard severity zones do not take those kind of efforts into account. This is long-term data that is used, 50-year data, and it looks at, again, some of those items, and it then designates the geographical areas into very high, and moderate fire severity zones. Very different than risk. We'll get into risk a little bit. Risk can be mitigated. The hazard is something that remains. I use an analogy such as the FEMA flood maps. So the FEMA flood maps come out, they designate a flood area, an area that that there's a hazard of a flood event. You can take mitigated efforts to reduce the risk associated with the flood. Same thing with the fire hazard severity zone maps. These zones indicate areas where the fire departments and the regulatory bodies can we can enforce regulations to mitigate the risk. So next slide. So the map adoption process, we went through a process where we collected public comment and proposed changes. We can't be less restrictive than what the state put out, but we can be more restrictive. City Council adopted the ordinance, officially adopting the maps on Tuesday, July 1st, and the maps were submitted to CAL FIRE on July 14th, 2025. And the only areas, go ahead and go to the next map, or go to the next slide, please. So the only difference that we made in the map was we included the Ondulando area as a high fire severity zone. If you look at the smaller map on the left, you can see a lot of the yellow and area in the middle of the Ondulando area that was either a moderate or unzoned area. And in that area during the Thomas fire, there were well over 200 homes that were destroyed. Using that information, knowing that they're still at risk of a fire event, we really wanted the ability to enforce the regulations, the fire safe regulations, in order to reduce the risk to the structures up there. So this map on the right, that's the little darker map, is available. It's an interactive map. If you go to the fire department website, you see the link up there, cityofventura.ca.gov/FHSZ has this map on it. It's interactive. You can put your address in and it'll come up and tell you if you are in one of the severity zones. Next one. So fire hazard severity zones and home insurance. This is one of the big questions that comes up with and Dina and I had this discussion earlier. So one of the big questions that comes up with the the updated maps is how's this going to affect my insurance? So when the maps were released with the information that CAL FIRE sent out, we received a letter from the Office of the Insurance Commissioner really emphasizing the fact that insurance companies don't use these fire hazard severity zone maps to influence their underwriting decisions. Insurance companies use a risk model. As I touched on earlier, what we're looking at is the hazard, the potential hazard in a geographical area. The risk models really zoom into the more specific areas, the more specific structures. Have there been risk mitigation efforts done, defensible space, home hardening, fuel modifications? Those types of efforts can greatly affect your insurance. They use a lot of the same information, the fire history, topography, weather, etc., but they don't use these maps specifically for their underwriting purposes. So on the bottom there, you have the long-term hazard zones don't equal the real-time insurance decisions. So next slide. And the new map is now in effect. However, what I will say is we are using the new maps for new properties, new properties, new construction in either a high or very high fire severity zone is required to comply with fire code, defensible space landscape plans. Existing structures and existing landscapes won't be required to comply with defensible space standards until next year. So we want to be able to send notices, make sure that everybody that is newly in our program, that's newly affected by the maps, make sure that they get the information, understand that they are in a fire hazard severity zone now, and what those regulations are and what they will need to do to comply with the regulations. So next slide. And this is the value in vegetation management. So this is a good example of what we require for defensible space. The picture on the left is really an unmaintained property. And as Jim can attest to, that's not something a firefighter wants to see when they come up to a structure. That home is undefendable. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to that structure to defend it. The one on the right, their neighbors love it because they now have an ocean view, but that structure is defendable. The odds of embers getting into an area in there and transferring from the wildland area to the structure is much less than it is on that left-hand side. So this is really what we're trying to accomplish here, is we're trying to limit or not limit, but maintain and reduce the amount of ignitable fuels that are out there that can lead to a devastating fire event. And so fire prevention resources, we have a QR code here. On our website, we have fire hazard reduction program guidelines, frequently asked questions and answers, finding your property on the fire hazard severity zone map, and emergency preparedness information. So please, yeah, if you're able to, please get a shot of the QR code there. And I'm certainly open for questions at this point.
So we learn every time we have a fire, we learn something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So talk about, so when a fire is imminent, you can see an orange glow. Can you talk a little bit about what homeowners can do to help you as a firefighter?
Sure. First thing is we follow the ready, set, go guidelines, right? Making sure that you're ready beforehand. Have a go bag ready to go. Have a plan. When it's time to get set, start moving things away from the home. Okay, moving things, combustible materials. A lot of people have their, I want to say lawn chairs, but like patio furniture up against their home. Move those out of the way. Try to move any potted plants out of the way. Getting combustible materials as far away from a structure as you can is really important. Leave your drapes open. Okay. And if you can, pull your drapes down. Drapes can catch on fire on the interior of a structure due to radiant heat. And so if you close your drapes, that's a good way of starting a fire on the interior of a home without even having any direct flame impact or ember intrusion into the structure. Kind of getting back to the ready portion, creating defensible space ahead of time, doing home hardening, preparing the home well in advance. We are really redefining the fire problem in the state of California from a wildfire problem to a home ignition problem. And the best way to defend against that is defensible space and home hardening. So getting those items taken care of way far in advance so that you're not scrambling trying to pull items away from your home when you should be evacuating. And then we get to the go. When it's time to go, when there's that evacuation order given, it's time to go, please get going, right? And you always hear during the evacuations about people having to wait in line and, you know, getting backed up. Get out early. Get out early. Chief Ndaya always uses the analogy of Dodger Stadium. Dodger Stadium is designed to hold 50,000 people. Get 50,000 people into the stadium and 50,000 people out of the stadium. And what happens when you leave at the end of the game? You're waiting around getting out, and it's designed to handle that many people. So when you have a city, an urban area that is not designed to evacuate 50,000 people at one point, it's going to be a problem. So get out early, and that's the best way you're going to be able to protect yourself.
So and you can correct me if I'm wrong, just what I
Sure.
In the Thomas fire, we had 80-mile-per-hour winds.
Yep.
Palisades fire, different. Those winds were 100 miles. And the biggest difference was where most of Ventura burned because fire got into the chimney or into the attic or into the vents or into the eaves. The Pacific Palisades fire actually broke windows. So you might have a fully secure structure with no trees nearby or no plants or no grass mat at the front door, but your windows blow out.
Sure.
So what I've heard.
Can't hear. We can't hear the speaker. Very important questions. I'd like to know what you're saying.
Okay, sorry about that. So the Pacific Palisades fire, the Thomas fire, we had winds up to 80 miles an hour. Pacific Palisades, 100 miles an hour. The wind, unlike the Thomas fire, the wind actually blew out very safe homes, homes that didn't have foliage up against the houses. And I was just curious if you knew anything about the changes in, like I've heard now it's laminated glass or glass that's just like your car that will protect against that. Do you know anything about that?
I do, and that's part of in 2008, California adopted Chapter 7A of the Building Code, and that is construction standards for external wildfire protection. And one of those requirements is the requirement for dual pane windows with one pane that is tempered glass. Okay. That is what you're referring to are existing homes. And when I say home hardening, those are the types of things that you can do to an existing home to help better prepare it survive a wildfire. So a few of the big ticket items that you can do to help better prepare an existing home is replacing your attic vents. Attic vents are the best bang for your buck. Installing either 1/8 inch mesh screen over the attic vent or an ember resistant vent. Changing out the windows to the tempered glass windows. Doesn't matter which side, whether it's an interior or exterior pane that is tempered. But exactly to your point, yes, that glass will tend to shatter and stay in place as opposed to blowing in. Okay. Making sure that any gutters, oftentimes you'll have vinyl downspouts, making sure that that's aluminum and non-combustible, creating a 5-foot zone zero around the exterior of the home where you either have very limited combustible material or completely void of any combustible materials. Those are really the home hardening, defensible space, the two best defenses that you can have for a structure. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Bob Chianese. I'm coming here on a sort of a mission. We are developing our FireWise Council, which you're about to apply for that status. We're taking the project from Lincoln to Hall Canyon, called L2H. It's 525 houses. And we're about to prepare our application to become a FireWise Council.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a couple of pointed questions.
Sure.
Lots to talk about, but one of the things that you did mention is that by 2026, there'll be required compliance. Can you tell me what that means?
The required compliance with defensible space standards. So defensible space it's defined as 100 feet from a structure or to the property line of fuels management. And that can be limbing up your trees so that the bottom limb of the tree is no greater than 5 feet from the ground, creating space between any shrubs below the crown of a tree, cleaning out your gutters, removing over dead and dying limbs of trees over the structure, removing dead, dying vegetation from your property, and just maintaining your property in a good, clean manner. So that's the compliance that we're talking about in the high and very high fire severity zones.
Well, that's where we are. That's where we are. So we're very conscientious about what you're saying. Let me tell you what you're telling. One of the questions we have is we're kind of being told by the national or statewide Firewise councils to make sure everybody understands that this is a volunteer process. However, we have to be aware of the fact that the kicker is that it won't be so volunteer if the 2026 deadline requires compliance.
Well, we're talking two different things here. The Fire Safe Council, to be involved in the Fire Safe Council, that is voluntary. Defensible space standards in the very high is state law. So if you are in an area that is designated as a very high fire severity zone, you are required by law to maintain defensible space. The city of Ventura has made that more restrictive to include the high fire severity zone, but inclusion in your Fire Safe Council is entirely voluntary. And I certainly encourage the Fire Safe Councils. I encourage as many Fire Safe Councils as we can get in the city of Ventura. And I'm certainly excited to hear that we have another one coming down the pike here. But joining that Fire Safe Council is entirely voluntary.
Yes, yes. But when you talk about requirements, will the fire department go around and check these properties for the hazard business?
We do. On an annual basis, we do approximately 6,000 defensible space inspections. And it's a challenge, you know, and I'll be the first to admit that we don't get to see all of every property. We are by law only allowed to do the inspections from the public way. And so the majority of our inspections are really capturing the front area of a structure. If we're invited in, we certainly would encourage that. And if somebody invites us onto their property, then we can do the entire 360 of the structure and get the entire property in that inspection. But yes, we do, again, over 6,000, and we're still working on the numbers on where these new maps are going to put us as far as how many inspections we'll be doing a year. But I believe we're in the ballpark of about 300 to 400 additional parcels that we'll be doing now.
If I could ask one more question. I know it's
sure.
We're going to be meeting with this regularly. We are very aware that our problems, particularly in the higher part of the hillsides, is the open space just behind the houses. And that's, of course, where the Thomas Fire raged down into our communities and destroyed a lot of homes. The Ventura Land Trust is now in charge of those properties. And we want to make sure that they're going to keep the weeds and the brush down. And we want to be good neighbors with them, but we hope they'll be good neighbors with us, because I think the requirement there would be 100 feet, if I'm not mistaken. They could probably clear out 100 feet barrier area between property lines and their property, and keep that clear, because that would help us an awful lot. Because that's where the fire, if you like to put it this way, will more than likely come from, is down through the hillsides.
I agree 100%. And we work very closely with the Ventura Land Trust. When they first took over that parcel up there, one of the fire department conditions was for them to maintain a 100-foot buffer between their land and the nearby structures.
That's fantastic.
And in fact, my inspectors were out there, met with them today, and came back, gave me a report. I have nothing but good things to say about the Ventura Land Trust and how they have been stewards of their land up there. They understand fuels treatments, they understand fuel modifications, and from everything that I have seen, They've been doing an outstanding job. They've been very receptive when homeowners have come to me, come to my inspectors, and have concerns about, hey, you know, the weeds are growing back or they haven't gotten to it yet. We'll reach out to them, and within that week, they're out there taking care of things. So I think you're absolutely right that yes, you know, we have a lot of open land, and you know, while Ventura Land Trust does a great job, it's not always possible to remove all the dead and dying brush that is in the open lands. And that's why we really have redefined the problem as a home ignition problem, because it's so difficult to modify fuels, and that modifying fuels is a temporary solution. Fuels grow back. And while you could, and there's been study after study, you can spend tens of millions of dollars of doing fuel modifications, and it's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. As soon as you're done, you've got to go back and spend another tens of millions of dollars doing the same thing. Fire is a part of the landscape in California, and that's why we really need to turn. While I'm not saying fuel modifications, fuel reduction, any of that should be ignored. I'm not saying that at all. But looking at the homes and the structures, that's where we can get the best bang for our bucks, and protecting the structures from igniting your neighbors and your neighbor and your neighbor. And that's really what we're seeing.
That's what our Firewise Council is primarily focused on hardening.
Yep.
Moving away from the houses, all that kind of good stuff. I do appreciate your comments about the fire department's connections and cooperation with the Ventura Land Trust. Extremely people on the hillsides.
They've been a great partner. They really have.
Thanks.
Sure.
Well, I got to tell you, I've been retired 13 years, and in my entire 39-year career, I never saw the type of life loss, property, structure loss, damage to the environment, infrastructure, like we've seen the last 13 years, starting with the Thomas and the Woolsey, and it goes on and on. We did weed abatement I did it for all of my career. I remember doing it up in the Heights, and we got better and better at it, and better clearance. And you saw what happened in the mountain fire. So my point is, defensible space was perfectly adequate for many, many years, and then suddenly it wasn't. And what's going on now is a self-defensible structure by hardening your home. And I'll say I put quite a bit of money and effort into hardening my home. I'm waiting on metal gates so I don't have any wood contacting within the zone 0, which is 5 feet of the structure itself. But it's almost self-defensible. And my plan is, when I leave the house, if I have to leave the house, I'm going to come back and it will still be there. My concern now is like the new evolution, and that's house-to-house ignition. Fortunately, my neighbor's newer construction to one side of me and older on the other, and I'm trying to get him to put some mesh on his vents to prevent attic fire, which is 90% of the reason for loss of home. So harden your home, and you won't have to dig through the rubble, because it's very disheartening and very difficult to lose everything. At this point in my life, I don't know what I do. And I work with some people in Camarillo after mountain fire. Where do they go? What are they going to do? What do they have? What are they dealing with insurance in the Palisades and Altadena? Good gosh, whatever you spend on that, it's well worth it. And I must say, I have the same insurance that I got a year ago. They continued my policy. I think they charged me another $200 a year. So it's under $5,000 a year. It's not the California Fair Plan. And I submitted to them all the improvements that I had made in my structure to prevent becoming a wildfire victim. And it really pays off tenfold as far as not being at the kind of risk that we really shouldn't be at in hillside homes.
My question is, I have a wood deck. Is there any product that I can replace that with that would be better than what I have going?
Absolutely. Concrete, yeah. No, there are fire retardant treated wood products. There are also, it's so hard to describe without advocating for a specific product. But the walking surface, it's like trying to say Band-Aid, because one product is so synonymous with the walking surface. But yes, it is a composite. That's the word I was looking for. Composite decking surface. You said it, not me. Yes. Yes. Correct. Yeah, and that is one product. That is a manufacturer, and I'm not supposed to correct. Yes. Yep. So composite decking materials, the walking surface, making that of a composite non-combustible. And again, the recommendation, actually, it's a requirement for support structures, no less than 4x4 material. And we certainly would recommend using a fire retardant treated wood for that. That is in the code the equivalent of non-combustible material. So, yes, there are materials out there that you certainly can use. And I actually, to chase that down the rabbit hole a little bit, there is a new code coming out in January. It's the California Wildland Urban Interface Code. I got my first look at it this afternoon. And one of the new requirements that I noticed between the deck and the structure is a minimum 6-inch flashing between the deck and the structure. And, that will, my initial take is it's just another area to reduce the likelihood of embers getting in there, create some kind of buffer between a deck and a structure. Metal flashing, minimum 6 inches between the deck and the structure. You're welcome. And happy to, provide any of those recommendations, because it can get down to that kind of minutia and even walking around your home, putting caulking, blocking off your eaves, your under eave spaces, any opening that is greater than 1/8 inch, using caulk and caulking those areas. And one of the trainings I took, take a golf tee. And if you can stick that golf tee in an area, in a gap, fill that gap. And whether it's caulking, some kind of material that will not allow embers to penetrate in that area. Yes, sir.
There's a fire clock product.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Caulking.
Yeah.
Not cheap.
Right.
$1 too, but.
Yeah, and I recommend as well a fire retardant gel that you can spray on the side of your house before you leave. That was one of the items that slipped my mind at first. But yeah, that's an incredible product. It stays active for up to 24 hours. Firefighters can come by, hit it with the hose, and it reactivates the gel. And so it can stay activated up to a week just by reapplying water to it. Yes. It- Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, yeah, it is messy. I agree, but you know, would you rather clean up the gel or sift through the ashes? You know, so it is, yeah. Yeah. So the gel, you apply it to the exterior of the house. You can apply it to trees, shrubs. Whether it works or not, that's a whole different story. But yeah, you can apply it, and it literally leaves a fire retardant barrier up against the structure.
Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Gosh, chock-a-block full of really good information that we all need to know, because these fires do not seem to be going away. And so also thank you, Brett, for your, defending our community. That is a key element. We Okay. So Eric just said that that and the other presentations will be on the website. So now I want to introduce Carlene Saxton. First, Carlene, thank you so much for your patience. This has been a long meeting. Are you still there?
I sure am.
All right. So Carlene Saxton is our Assistant City Manager, and she's going to talk about the status of Main Street moves and repaving Telegraph and any other questions we might have. Carlene?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I'm not there in person. I have two little ones upstairs that are just delightfully sleeping. And I'm happy to fill in. I know Bill Ayub, our city manager, he typically comes and shares some updates of the city. He is on a well-deserved vacation, so happy to step in for him. Before I hop into the topics that were mentioned, I'm actually going to just give a couple of kind of announcements. And I wanted to thank Kathy Bremer for the invite as well to come tonight. So if you haven't already seen it, we are asking for some input on our Surfers Point art installation. And all of that is listed on our city website. We are hoping to get input from the community by July 27th, so on Sunday. So you have a couple days to put input on that and help us out to make sure that that's a community vision. And then speaking to our wonderful fire department, I have to plug the Ventura Fire Department Honor Guard is actually holding their annual 9/11 Memorial Stair Climb. They didn't host it last year or have it last year, but they're able to do it this year again. It's on September 7th, 8 a.m., Crown Plaza, Ventura Beach. I had the honor of participating my first year, and it's very hard, but very humbling to see those firefighters do essentially the same amount of stairs that the firefighters did at 9/11. So that's a tremendous thing that they do as a fundraiser. And the last general announcement is our Marina Park Playground is completed and open to the public. If you haven't stopped by, it is beautiful and it's very fun to see all the kids just climbing on everything. And it's just a tremendous park. So go stop by there. To hop into the other stuff, I will kind of go maybe from least interested to most interested. So I wanted to mention that council is on break. I know Councilmember Schumacher typically attends as well. He is actually at a conference right now. And our council is on break until August 18th. That's when our council resumes on August 19th. That Tuesday is the meeting. And I wanted to make a special note because council actually is going to be off-site. They're going to be at the Wright Event Center August through January because we're doing some ADA improvements to the council chambers. So don't go to City Hall on Tuesdays. Go ahead and go over to the Wright Center, which I think is close to where you are meeting this evening. So that will be August until January. We'll be resuming probably in February at the council chambers. And then getting into paving for Telegraph from Ashwood to Hill. So We are excited. We have conducted our pre-construction meeting with the contractor. It is Toro Enterprise. They're a local contractor. And so we're excited to have some local residents continue to work in Ventura. They held that actually on Monday, and the contractor intends to mobilize and start construction on the concrete access ramps and the concrete repairs on August 4th. So the concrete takes quite a bit of time and a little bit longer than the asphalt. I know that kind of the length of the project is a little bit surprising, but when you couple kind of those sidewalk and curb gutter in with the project, it does extend it just due to the curing time and molding and all of that. Very, engineering heavy. But their plan is to begin the work on Hill Road and proceed towards Ashwood Avenue. And there are just some time issues obtaining the traffic signal equipment, and the sequencing of that work is something that staff and the contractor are really working on. Contractor's schedule proposes to start the resurfacing portion on November 14th. So we'll have messaging out to the community. I know that's really important to everyone. We're really excited to make sure that that looks great and is highly utilized and stays really, really wonderful. So excited for that project. And then the other one, and unfortunately, there's been kind of some misinformation and confusion because it is a complicated kind of action that happened. But on around Main Street Moves, July 8th, the City Council adopted a motion terminating the pedestrian mall law process based off of the objections, received from property owners. Currently, Main Street Moves between First Street and Mission Park and portions of California Street between Poli and Santa Clara remain closed, and they're closed under the vehicle code. And Ventura City Council has not made a decision regarding the future of the closure. However, at that July 8th meeting, they did direct staff to return September 16th with options to reopen Main Street to vehicles in November, or to continue the closure under the vehicle code, which we actually were sued under the vehicle code and won that. And so the court has said that we can keep it closed under the vehicle code. The city can continue that closure under the vehicle code. However, there's pending lawsuits and the city's ability to maintain the closure long term, but no final decisions have happened yet in regards to the final full closure, but it remains closed at a minimum until the discussion on September 19th, and we'll find out what City Council does. There's a bunch of different options that they could pursue. They could just completely open it up. We could remain closed, or they could choose to direct staff to come back with some options of, different partial closures or things of that sort. We're really looking forward to that September 19th discussion. So hopefully that helps kind of clear up some of the things that were going around. And I know that there was an article that I think created additional confusion. But with that, and then I was going to mention the general plan. I forgot that Maruja was going to do her presentation, but she did such a great job. And other than that, those are kind of my updates. Happy to field any questions, should there be some.
Any questions?
Hi, Carlene. One question. Are they going to have WebEx or anything at the new site, or is that not going to be available?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for that, Bert. So at the new site, we are not going to have the option or availability to host virtual comments. We're really trying to figure out, we're going to work right up until the day of, but the technology is just extremely challenging. We are going to be able to have those videotaped and posted for consumption, as the regular business typically, but virtual participation, even from a consultant standpoint, is not going to be available at this time. Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Bert?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you so much, Carlene. It was great to see you. Thank you for jumping in after, I'm sure, a long day of work to help us out with sharing city information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, and then to wrap it up this evening, we're just going to do a few announcements. And if in the audience you have an announcement, feel free. I have two right now. One is the Ventura Botanical Gardens. Next free day is International Youth Day on August 12th. Additionally, once a year, the Gardens offers a Ventura Spirits tasting. And this year it will be August 31st at 5:30 p.m. And you can sign up for that on the website. Anybody else? Dina, did you want to talk about movie nights?
Just as a reminder or notification, the Ventura Chamber sponsored and presented the Ventura Stomp, which was a 4-week line dancing event in downtown Ventura. And then 1 week, last week, was a movie night. The Chamber is not designed for this sort of programming, but kind of stepped in to help bring some activation to downtown that we thought was needed. Subsequent to that, the downtown partners have stepped up and they have extended the line dancing for an additional 3 weeks. It was tonight and it will be another couple of weeks. And hopefully we'll see the DVP and perhaps the chamber again in the future provide some other activities that are just designed purely as activation. Wednesday nights are the slowest nights for downtown businesses. And the idea of having something fun to do on a Wednesday night can be very appealing and help our neighbors who are running their businesses down there.
Yeah, as long as it's not our Wednesday night. Other Wednesday nights. I know. I will say, if you look at the social media posts, it looks so much fun. Yeah, I do think that kind of activation is really important for our downtown, for our entire community, and getting everybody engaged. Does anybody else have announcements they might want to make? All right. Well, gosh, thank you all for coming. I do want to mention that our next meeting is going to be August 27th on Zoom. So please be there. We'd love to see you. And have a good evening, everyone.